Welcome back, everyone, to the W Sports Podcast. We are going into week number 2 of the NFL season. So we're going to do some fantasy football stardom sit-ems for your three key groups today. And then we're also going to hit some news and notes from the baseball world because we are hitting that playoff push season. And it's been a minute since we've been able to talk through some baseball stuff with you guys. So one, thank you guys so much for joining the chat today or just joining the show, whether you downloaded it on the Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, maybe you just joined us on social media or through YouTube. Thank you so much for subscribing. And if you haven't already, pause real quick, subscribe to the show. We really, really, really do appreciate it. But Tubby, welcome back to the show, man.
What is up? It's going to be good to talk some baseball again. It's been about a month since we've talked really any baseball.
It has, and the Cardinals have the same record, one game over 500. So let's go baseball. But we're going to start today in the fantasy football world. So maybe you're new to the W Sports Podcast, or maybe you've been listening since day one, and you're like, "This is how it all started," but we don't always do it. So we're trying this out. So we want your feedback. If you're like, "Hey, I'm all for this," make sure you hit a thumbs up on the video, or maybe comment, or even DM us on social media, and we can give you some start sit advice. Because I know sometimes you're wondering, do I start Wilson? Because I don't know about Aaron Rodgers, or do I start any of those Packers wide receivers without a Jordan Love, who's listed as doubtful, who's technically out, but is
Yeah.
not out officially yet? I
Yeah.
get it. It's hard. You got money on the line in those paid leagues, or you're just in a free league and you just want to have some bragging rights. I get it. Okay, Colin, we got you. Put your questions in the chat, bro. We got you. Okay. So, Tubby, we're going to start with quarterbacks because that is what makes this whole thing run in a football world. So, I want to know, Tubby, who is your sit-em quarterback this week? That means, and just for everybody who's watching maybe for the first time, sit-em is they are a QB1, top 12 quarterback rankings and projections. And you're saying, dude, don't start him. Who you got?
I think the most logical answer is Joe Burrow.
I think that makes
I
sense.
mean, at Kansas City, with the way they played last week, with the questions that we have right now with the Bengals, the offense line isn't playing super great. The run game isn't really good. How in shape is Jamar Chase? And it doesn't look like T. Higgins is playing again. I
Mm-hmm.
think there is some concerns, I think, with that wrist because he is constantly flexing it, and all every time when you see him, he's trying to move it around. It makes me wonder if there's something still not quite right there. I think that
Yeah.
right now he's not a guy that you can start. So if you have someone else, probably a good chance that you probably should
Yeah.
start him.
And we'll get to who Tubby thinks maybe you could start if he's out there, or maybe you have as a good backup. But the two guys that I'm going to go with, it's one of the two, and so you pick your poison, whichever one you don't have as much confidence in. Kyler Murray, because I think he is going to be dependent on getting that rushing touchdown, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just he doesn't have it yet with Marvin
Yeah,
Harrison Jr. And then the other one is Anthony Richardson. I think he is super dependent on getting that rushing touchdown, and the chances are he's going to get it. If I had to
yeah,
think which one's going to get it, it's going to be Richardson. But I don't trust his passes at all right now. I don't trust his accuracy, and he's still technically a rookie. So why not go with the vet and then not start Anthony Richardson? So that's what I'm saying. Who is your stardom quarterback, Tubby? Maybe they're ranked as a QB2, or maybe way down the list. You think they're going to get a shot? Who would you put down there?
give me Jared Goff against Tampa. Yeah, they destroyed the Commanders. But give me Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff against this team, we saw him last year, had a great game against them in the playoffs. I think Amon will be a lot better than he was week one. Laporta, Jameson Williams. I think this is a guy that if he's out there and like you do have a Joe Burrow or Kyler Murray, maybe pick him up and throw him in the lineup because you might be a little worried about your quarterback play.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna go, and I can't believe I'm saying this. And it's again, it's one of those rushing upside things. I think as a disaster as it was in week one for Caleb Williams, they're gonna completely find the things that, hey, what are you comfortable with? Let's go. And it's against Houston. It's a primetime game. This is the time. This is the time for
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams to really show up in a primetime moment. So give me Caleb Williams. I think he finds his way into the end zone with a touchdown running the ball, and he definitely gets, I'm going to say, 2 passing touchdowns this week. That's so give me him. I know it's a gamble. I get that. I have a share of Caleb Williams, and I'm starting him in the 2 QB league this week. I'm terrified.
I mean, the thing
That's where
is
I'm at.
like the legs will probably be used more this week for him
He
with the
should.
potential of Roman Dunze and Keenan Allen potentially being out. Yeah, you still have DJ Moore and you have Cole Kmet in the passing game, but outside of that, the run game besides DeAndre Swift isn't really that great. So
Mhm.
maybe they have him run the ball a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let's move over to running backs. Tubby, let's go with your sit them, and this is a RB, and we're actually gonna do RB1 or RB2 that you're like, you know what, I don't trust it. So top 24 ranked running back, and some of the, now just for the record, as Tubby's
Mm-hmm.
getting his name, I need y'all to know that there are so many lists out there. We're going with generic number list, like the average number. Okay.
Yeah, give me sit Travis Etienne against the Cleveland Brown defense. The I I don't like what I saw from the Jaguars offense a whole lot the week one.
Mhm.
They played against a relatively weak defense with a weak secondary, and he just did not look. But the offense didn't. I mean, probably outside of him, the offense didn't look good. Cleveland
Mhm.
is known for having a really good defense.
Mhm.
As bad as they played week one, I think that they will be much better, especially against the run. Give me them to slow down Travis Etienne this week.
Yeah. Sit him. I'm going to say Josh Jacobs, and this is on the stipulation that Jordan Love doesn't play, because I think if it's Malik Willis, I'm putting 9 in the box, and I'm getting one of those is a spy. I'm saying beat me this way, and I think that's the hard part for Josh Jacobs is you saw in the game last week that when he gets the ball going, it's similar to the Derrick Henry thing. If Yeah, he's going to get 40 yards in the first 14 carries, but on this like six, he's going to get another 40 to 60 yards. He's worn the team
Mm-hmm.
down, and I think you're going to have a hard time in the box for the Packers against the Colts. I'm just too big of a gamble with the Jordan Love news and knowing that Malik Willis technically right now is your QB1,
Yeah.
unofficially there right now in Green Bay. But all right, so give me, and I also would say I'm still worried about Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, many of y'all may have had him. You started him. You just thought for sure it's week one. Why in the world would he not? And here he was. But give
Yeah.
me a stardom. Maybe they're an RB3 or further buried down the list. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle, the technically backup running back in
He did not have a
Dallas.
good week one.
He did not have a good week one. But I think that, I don't know, I just have a feeling that he's going to show up this week against a decent, solid defense. But I feel
Mhm.
like they're going to try to figure out who that running back is, because I don't think that they can sit there all season and expect it to be Ezekiel Elliott. They have to see if Dowdle can be that guy. So I'm going to go with he's going to have a bounce back week, and this is just kind of throwing dart at the dartboard, hoping that it sticks.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to have a breakout week. He's going to have somewhere around 12 to 15 fantasy points, have a
Mhm.
solid week, and something happens late in the week, and you just kind of got to go out there and pick someone up in a deeper league, and if he's out there, there you go.
Yeah, I really wanted to say Tajay Spears, but against that Jets defense, I cannot do that right now. I think if I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it, I don't know that this is a fun pick necessarily. Where did it go? I just scrolled too far down. I should have done that. Uh, yeah, and so I think this is borderline. Like this is, I think he's ranked in the middle, and he had a great week one, but I think, um, no, sorry, there it is. J.K. Dobbins. He had a great week one, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But against Carolina, I think they're going to run the ball a ton. This is going to be an
Oh
ugly game. This is dependent that he finds the end zone again. He's
yeah.
got to find the end zone because if he doesn't, I think he could have 13 to 18 touches, and then 70 yards and no score. So he's got to get in the end zone, but I think he could, and I don't think there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a lot of scoring in this game. So Pickens are slim.
No, no, and then I think another guy to watch for is going to be Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah,
Kenneth Walker's hurt
it's
already.
true. Yeah, I know. I
If
have a share of
Charbonnet,
him too. I'm so
yeah.
frustrated.
So I think right now he's considered questionable. We'll see if he plays. He hasn't really practiced at all this week with
Mhm.
was a hip flexor or a hamstring or something.
Mhm.
Zach Charbonnet, if Walker doesn't play, I think will probably jump
Yeah.
up to maybe a yeah, they are playing New England, a tough defense, but they're going to get him the ball because he is so prevalent in the pass game.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move to wide receivers in that case. Who you got for Sidham? Wide receiver 2 or higher?
Wide receiver two or higher sit. I'm going to go with. Oh, I we talked about him early about Garrett Wilson. I think that's a good one, but I'm gonna go with the guy Drake London. I
Yeah.
don't. What we saw from Kirk Cousins, I don't know if he's really in the groove of things, and I think
Stiff.
that yeah, he looks so. It was a lot of what we saw with Rodgers, where they're just
Yeah.
not very mobile in the pocket, and they're not able to move around.
Hmm.
I think that he is a very questionable guy to play right now, especially if you have other options. Granted, the Philadelphia secondary is a work in progress with some of the younger guys. I don't trust Drake London at all right now. I don't really trust anyone except for maybe on that offense, except for maybe Bijan Robinson, just because it's Bijan. They're going to, you hope that they try to give him the ball more, but I just don't. I think Drake London being where he is way too high.
Yeah, I do like what you said, Garrett Wilson. That's just the too easy one
Yeah.
right now. Um, you know, I kind of feel like that's who I want to say is Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
I not Drake London, excuse me. We just said it. Wilson, just
Mm-hmm.
because until I see it, I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. For the record, I wasn't a huge Wilson fan coming out of college. I just wasn't. So maybe I'm still sticking with that. Um, and then anybody who has Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. ranked in the top 20 too. If yours, I
Yeah.
don't see them as must starts right now.
No.
Let me see it and then we'll go. But maybe I'm cutting bait too quick. Give me your stardom. Maybe they're ranked outside.
I'm gonna go with Terry McLaurin. We talked about him early on, and yeah, they had a bad week. They didn't give him the ball too much, but I think we're gonna see Terry McLaurin get the ball eventually,
Hmm.
and I think it starts this week against the Giants. Terry McLaurin is a guy that I have a couple shares of because we talked about it. We thought you know he was going to have a really good year with a new quarterback. Kind of rejuvenate this organization. I think this is where we start seeing that connection between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin
I
kind
hope
of
so.
snap, and we see it this connection start, and we have Terry McLaurin have. I'm going to say he has 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll take that. I like that. I am gonna go ahead and pick, and this is counterintuitive. I said Sidham, the QB.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say go ahead and start Michael Pittman today. Because I think it was him or Worthy, and I feel biased saying Worthy. So I'm gonna say Pittman because I think he does get the touchdown. I think if there's one touchdown that's thrown, I think this week it's got to be him. You got to get Pittman going. He's too good not to. Like he's one
Yeah.
I loved out of college. Still loved him early on in his career. He's too good. They better work to find a way to get him the ball, especially in the red zone. So if he has a stat line where it's like 7 catches for 60 yards, he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna find the end zone as well. I mean that's 18 points right there. So you gotta
Yeah.
like that. But
Nope, I like that.
um, yeah, all right. So that's your fantasy football advice. All right. So take it or leave it.
Mm.
But from what we've heard, you just got to listen.
I
Tell
mean,
me,
it is right there. It
is
just
it's
say it
right
right
there on
there.
the screen. What did you go in your first week in fantasy football?
Three
Cumulative.
zero.
Okay, I was 2-1, so I lost one league to the person who scored the most points. So I'm not. I don't want to talk about it. We did review the draft, and we didn't review that person's draft as well. So I'm just frustrated with it. It's fine. Yeah, but all right. So let's go ahead. We're gonna move on to some MLB news. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Especially if you're MLB fans and you've just been waiting to hear what Tubby's takes are, because his Dodgers have someone who's about to make history. It looks like they're about to make history. And Shohei Ohtani, if you didn't think he was already a unicorn of baseball, he's about to go 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. I mean, but it's crazy. Like we talked about, I think we talked about it off camera last week after we got done recording, and
Hmm.
he before this year the most stolen bases he had I think was either 19 or 29, one of the two. I get it mixed up. I'm pretty sure it was 19, and now we're like, what is he sitting at 48,
Uh,
47?
yeah, 48.
Yeah, so he's 2 away from 50, and he's 3 home runs away from 50. It's an incredible season. What he has done the first year of this 10-year contract, I mean, already year one, we're like, yep, that contract was definitely worth it. And then next year,
Jeez, yeah.
it, not just the offensive side, it's going to be the pitching of it too. So yeah, it is an incredible season. First year, you can have, and for the Dodgers after getting a 10-year, $700 million contract, couldn't start it off any better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, gosh. How much is he getting paid by the Dodgers this year? Oh yeah, that's right, $2 million. It's fine, whatever. It's a little unfair. Yeah, he is 30. He's clearly at the peak right now. If here's the thing: if Shohei Ohtani was pitching this year, and let's say he was 16-6 with a 3.2 ERA, with
Mhm.
25 strikeouts on the year, you know what I would say? That there's not an AL MVP and an NL MVP. There's a baseball MVP, and it would be Shohei Ohtani. That's the only thing keeping
Yeah.
him from that. It's
Mhm.
insane. And when it comes to baseball, those beautiful, perfect round numbers mean so much. And yeah,
Yeah.
if he ends with 49-49, we're going to say it's insane. But a 50-50 is
Yeah.
absolutely insane. So, so quick, do you think he gets it?
Yeah, I think he
Yeah,
does.
I think he does. I think the stolen bases are no problem. I think it's the home
Mhm.
runs. The only way is if you just don't pitch to him. And if you did that the last 2 weeks of the season, the amount of boos that you will get, like boo, like man, give this man a shot.
I mean, we saw teams try to do it against with Judge when
It's
he was
true.
going for 62. So I mean,
Yeah, it's gross.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Judge, what a segue, Tubby. What you just a professional over here, just doing this. So this weekend we had the Yankees versus. It was this week. It was early this week. Excuse me.
So
Yankees
yeah.
versus Royals, with two MVP candidates, the front runners in the AL, with Bobby Witt
And
Jr. and of course the one and only Aaron Judge. Uh, who you got as MVP as we round out this part of the year?
I think it's still Judge. It's hard not to. I mean, what Judge has done this year is just it's absurd.
Hmm.
Really, it is. I mean, I love you know us. We love Bobby Witt, and we love Honestly, we've talked about the three best players in baseball right now: Judge, Otani, and Bobby Witt. And
Hmm.
I probably am a little bit more biased because I do love Bobby Witt so much. Outside of my Dodgers players, this is my
Hmm.
favorite player in baseball to watch play because he does everything so you know fantastic. I mean, hitting, defense, steals, and you can tell that he's become that leader in the in the clubhouse at
Hmm.
such a young age. And part of it is that he was committed to the University of Oklahoma before he got drafted number 2. But I
Just got
think
drafted.
Judge right now still has to be the favorite. But I think it is a much closer race than anyone would expect at this point.
Yeah, Judge in September has had a 225 average, one home run, three RBIs. Yeah, he's just not him. Or excuse me, that's Bobby
Mhm,
Witt. Excuse me. Judge is at 189 with no home runs and three
mhm.
RBIs. Judge has been consistently great, for the
Yeah,
most of the season. He wasn't early on in the season. People are like, "What's wrong with him?" And then he just exploded. Just so people don't forget, Bobby Witt had a month in baseball season where he hit 489 and slugged 833. If you
yeah,
look at Aaron Judge's peak that he did was a 409 average, so not quite as good, and he had a slugging percentage. His highest was a separate month where it was 913. Absolutely insane what these guys did this year,
yeah.
guys. Those numbers, you want a 300 average and a 500 slug. That's a really good power hitter, and these guys
Hmm.
dominated even for a month. So it's gonna be toss up. I think you're right. It's probably gonna be him. I think record is gonna do a lot with it.
Yep.
Team success, market, all that kind of stuff. But hey, Bobby's gonna get one here pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too is going to be that people already have their mind made up
Yeah,
and have had their mind probably made up since early part of July
yeah.
because unless Judge was to have gotten hurt in July and didn't play these last couple months, yeah, it'd be
Hmm.
Bobby Witt. But I think a lot of people probably have their mind made
Yeah,
up
it
with
was done.
how insane that Judge was after that slow start to the season, and all of a sudden it was just like in a blink of an eye he has 39 home runs.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. um, all right, well, let's look at the final playoff push. We got 2 weeks left of the season. As you go into the next week, this is really pivotal for baseball and a couple of those races. Any big storylines that you're looking at as you go through it?
I think it's going to be that honestly we're seeing teams that we started off really hot to start the second half are just absolutely just going ice cold at the worst time
Yeah.
possible. I mean, we talked about it about the NL West. Could someone catch the Dodgers? Was it going to be the Diamondbacks? Is it going to be the Padres? And both of them, yeah, they started out scorching hot in the
Hmm.
second half, and then they just hit this lull. Even when the Dodgers weren't playing good, the Dodgers were, you know, maintaining that lead because they started playing a little bit better. But yeah, I think that a big storyline is just that these teams that started out so hot are, you know, going ice cold, and the teams that were ice cold, like the Phillies and the Braves, are playing much better. I mean, the Braves out of nowhere this last month have really turned things around. Yes,
Mhm.
they are out of the play. They're
Just a game.
borderline playoffs, and they haven't done great the last 10 games. But before that, I think at one point they were like 16-3 in their last 19, and they're starting to figure some things out. There's still some questions with the pitching, but yeah, it's the teams that weren't playing good were playing, or that aren't playing good were playing good early, and now the teams that
Mhm.
were playing good early aren't playing good now, and you got teams like the Mets and the Braves that are trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think the big storyline I have is the teams that are at the top of the division, the ones that's going to separate come playoff time. Obviously, it's bullpen, but the other thing is who has performed better against better talent. So record against
Mm-hmm.
teams that are probably in the playoffs. When you look at that, the top teams right now are the Brewers. Then you have the Phillies are 8 games over 500. The Dodgers are 9. But guys, the Yankees are literally 15 games over 500 against the best teams. I think we are seeing them as just watch out. Watch out for the Yankees come playoff. I think a lot of people are going to be upset. I think me, because my Cardinals are terrible or very average, go Yankees.
I just my thing when it comes for the Yankees when it comes to the playoffs is going to be the starting pitching.
I hear you.
What do we get from Garrett Cole and that bullpen? Do you trust that back into that bullpen to close down a game with as many blown saves that they've had this year?
I
Is going to
hear
be
you.
the biggest, I think, the biggest question.
I'm counting on it to work because of that offensive lineup, and hopefully they're not ice cold, which we just talked about. One of them who is their MVP candidate, and if there's anything I want to leave you guys with today, is that the Houston Astros are 2 games under 500 against people with winning records. Feel good about that? Okay,
But
just throwing that out there.
they've got a 4-game lead in the division.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just talking about in the playoff
Yeah,
time.
no,
Just
yeah, I know. I'm just
lose,
saying.
sweep them.
I know. I mean, you're talking about. We
Yeah,
thought this was going to be the year they finally
I
start to
know.
fall off, and here they are, still leading that division.
I know. Well, that is the show. We want to say thank you again for subscribing to the show, for checking the show out. Maybe if this is your first time, we did just restructure everything. So instead of one super mega episode per week, we have 4 bite-sized episodes, so you can listen to them throughout the week. Feel like you're updated on all things football, baseball, even some basketball here and there, and track and field. It just depends on what sport's going on. Whatever it is, I need you to know that Tubby's always very knowledgeable, very researched, and I'm very excited to talk about it because I love sports. We know you do too. So, till then, we'll see y'all next time.
See ya.